All right, now we're going to talk about the closing disclosure. So I say 4 days, but it's really 3 days before closing. So say I have a closing tomorrow, Friday, and I don't have the closing disclosure out, which I'll show you what it is in a minute. What that means, I can't close tomorrow. So today would be Thursday. If I got the closing disclosure out today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday doesn't count. I could close Monday would be my first day I could close. And that's a new law they started doing a couple of years ago. So what a closing disclosure is, let me find my CD right here. We'll get that in a second. Is right here. I crossed out the buyer and seller's name. This is one that we're closing on in a home this week. So it shows the things that agents need to look for. So when you're looking at this, you need to look at the sale price of the property. This should be the price of the contract of the property. It better be, or you need to recheck it and come back. And then once you check the sale price, the only a couple things you're really going to need to know. And then you're going to check your commissions. So this agent is only getting 1.5%, while the other agent's getting 3%. So this is the listing agent. They're the owner of the property on this one. So they took a discount to help make more money. So it makes sense. So usually it would be 3 and 3 or whatever, but you can have whatever is in there. So always check and make sure with whoever's agent this is, they would want to check and make sure they're getting 3 and not 4. Their commission is correct. Then they check to make sure the price is correct. And then you're going to jump down to the bottom. The other big thing to check is right here is the balance due from the borrower. So this is if this was like my buyer, like if this was Dan buying the home, he would have to bring $422.80 to closing.
I think that's fair.
And that's really good. Yep. So they bought this home. I just know this client. They bought it with a FHA loan. And they had their earnest money down, like we talked about that sheet, the offer sheet. They put their earnest money down. They got some seller concessions. They used a grant, all that. They put their own money down too. They put a higher deposit for earnest money of $2,500, so they didn't have to pay as much at closing, because the earnest money can be used for closing or for down payment or closing. And then that way they didn't have to bring as much to closing when they closed. When they closed on their home, instead of they were projecting about $2,500, they only had to bring $400 because we planned ahead. So they saved money, spent a little more money up front to save money at the end. So now they have money for moving trucks and stuff like that to be able to save money. So it's really good that way. So this is the big thing. And then you can see right here, homeowner insurance and all the taxes and everything. So if you can't read this, it's okay. The main thing you need as an agent to look at is the home price. Make sure your commissions are in there. And then you go down to the bottom and you check how much the buyer and seller. So this seller, they're getting, after paying off their loan, they look like they have a home loan on the home. They're going to make $45,000. This investor group. I just know it's an investor group for this person because it's who's senior.
Very nice.
They're going to make 45 grand, which is great. They made a great investment on this home. And then the seller only cost them 422, and they're happy too.
Which is a great investment for them.
Great.
That's not even like a deposit. If that would have been a rental, that would not even be a deposit.
That's amazing. And because of this, we already know that this home appraised at $300,000. So the seller doesn't know because the buyer pays for the appraisal. So when you do your appraiser, that's a good point to mention. When you pay for your appraiser, the seller is the one paying for the appraisal. So when they pay for the appraisal and they do it, they're the only ones that get a copy of it. All you have to do is tell the other agent, we're good to go. We met value. That's all you tell them. You don't tell them, hey, we made $50,000 in equity when we bought this home. Because then what are they going to do? They're going to be like, oh no, we're going to back out and we're putting it in the market for $300,000 now. Because
the buyer is the one who pays for the appraisal.
The buyer pays for the appraisal, and they're the only ones that see it. Now the appraisal might ask for some called seller required repairs. For a while, the VA was doing a ridiculous. Their appraisers, if they had any peeling paint on the house, especially around like the trim, they would make them repaint the whole trim and redo the whole thing. But luckily they were there for like 3 months. They did it for like every single VA home. They were on some weird trim thing, but now they're done doing that. So this is your closing disclosure. This comes from the title company and the lender. Okay. So and then this has to.
Oh, you closed with Paula? Was that your client? You closed with Paula?
Yeah, this was Paula. Yep. At Chicago Title. She's great. I love Paula.
She is.
Yeah, I use them a lot. I use them and Envision. They're both awesome. So Paula, this was Paula. So that's how I got a copy of this one. Yep. This was one of my clients. So the only person that does this is the lender and the title company, and they'll give you what's called an unbalanced CD before. So this would be correct. The only thing that might be messed up, like when this first came out before we closed, they saw here and the seller saw, the buyer saw that it was 2,500. Because we didn't figure in all of the down payment, the earnest money, the seller concessions, they didn't have all that. So once they balance it and we get all the documents applied correctly, it dropped them down to 422. And then if my lender wanted to donate anything, lender credits would be in here too. Where you could have the lender, because as agents, we can give up our commission and the lender can as well. And then we can help them pay for closing costs if we wanted to. So these clients were super happy, as you know. They were looking for a rental home and then they got turned in, they decided to buy instead. And they bought a beautiful home for that, a big family. They had like 3 families living together. So they bought a six bedroom home for $253,000. Yep.
How the heck?
I know that we were super excited. It was a great deal for everybody.
They should be.
Yeah, we saved a lot of money. They saved a lot of money. Everyone is super, super happy and it's great. So that's what you want. You want happy stories where everyone's doing good. Right, so that's your CD. You make sure that works and that goes out. Okay, now this, of course, we just went over. It talks about what the buyer is going to get back at closing, what your commission is going to be, and if they're paying off anything. So make sure you know that. Right, and the lender and the title company and the agent walk through this form. So as agents, like I showed you, when you get they're going to send you a copy of this and be like, okay, here's the copy. Is there any mistakes that you notice? Now, right now, this was an easy one I just showed you because we did one where they had a repairs for foundation. And if you have big repairs, a lot of people who do repairs, construction people say, you're fine. We know you're under contract and the home is probably going to close. We're willing to do the work with a small, like $1,000 or $2,000 down, and we'll take the rest at closing. And then you have different invoices that the title company has to pay. All money has to go through title. So at agents, don't take any money, don't hold any money, don't play with any money. All money goes through title. We can't stress that enough. And for anyone to get paid, it has to be on the CD, the closing disclosure. Okay, so that client, we had like 7 different invoices because we did a foundation leveling. They had broken pipes, they had gas leaks. All this stuff had to be repaired because of the foundation. So it's important to do that. Make sure all the invoices are labeled correctly in the CD. Otherwise, it destroys everything and it makes it really difficult. And we don't get to do that. So please pay attention to that and make sure. We can't stress that enough, because if not, you're going to have a couple $1,000s that people are going to worry about.